right now Georgia Republican Senator David Perdue. Good to have you here, Senator. There is so much resistance. You could see it in the eyes and the faces of Democrats as he introduced this. How do you get anywhere on this? I mean, there's a lot of discord surrounding immigration right now.
Well, what we saw just 2 weeks ago is how far away from the American people the Democrats are right now. They're out of touch totally. You could see when they threatened to shut the government down, which they actually did over DACA, that they were out of touch with the American people. 2/3 of Americans want to solve the DACA situation, but end chain migration and the diversity lottery while supporting border security with a wall. So this president is instinctively in touch with the American people. We've got to force that through, and I believe he's issued a framework here that should lead to a deal by March the 5th.
There's some concern among some members of his party, including some of the base, that, maybe this is going too far. Because it's not just the 690,000 Dreamers. You're talking about possibly 1.8 million people having a path to citizenship. Do you think that's just a negotiating tactic right now, or is that for real? And if so, will that upset some of his most ardent supporters?
I think President Trump has shown that he's been courageous all through his first year when he took on regulations, energy, and tax last year. But you can see the results of that agenda working now. In this case, he has shown the world what he will sign into law. And so he's been more than generous on the DACA population about what he's willing to do. But for that, he wants to make sure we're not here again in 3 or 4 years. And that means that we have to secure this border and break this linkage that we have that creates these big numbers in the first place with regard to chain migration.
Let me just ask you, politically, I don't know how the Democrats quite are going to manage not signing on to some kind of reform for immigration. I mean, if they wind up sending so many young people home, when there was a deal on the table, how's that going to look to their base?
It shows you a little bit of the genius of this president. He's put a package out there and is daring the Democrats to vote against it. How can they vote against almost tripling the numbers of DACA individuals that they were talking about themselves? And also dealing with the backlog in a very compassionate way that protects Americans, but also gives these people who are trying to enter the country legally a way to do that. So this president has created a framework, I believe, that should be done, and we ought to be able to do that by March the 5th.
You think so? So we'll be able to meet that deadline? I mean, it's fast approaching, but, people said it couldn't get done with tax reform, and it did.
Well, they said we couldn't do taxes. We said we couldn't do regulation. We got those done. But here's the deal. After 50 years of an archaic system that does not bring merit-based immigrants into our country for the most part, it's time that we redo this. Bill Clinton wanted that done back in the 90s after Barbara Jordan recommended from her commission that they move to a merit-based immigration system like Canada and Australia have had for decades.
Wow, wouldn't it be amazing, right? If President Trump, the one that the left hates so much and see as so divisive and so anti-immigrant, is the one to actually get some kind of program established for all of these Dreamers so that they could be citizens of the United States.
Patricia, it takes somebody outside of Washington. That's why the Washington establishment, particularly the Democratic establishment, doesn't know what to make of this guy. He's an outsider, a business guy, and he's moving at a business pace, and they don't know how to deal with that. He wants results, just like he wanted last year, and we began to get those results, and now you see the aftermath in the economy. 2.5 million new jobs, as he talked about tonight, 860 regulations and rules reversed, and consumer confidence at an all-time high. We've got to follow that through this year with infrastructure, immigration, and trade.
Wow. Well, that would be some serious results. Thank you so much, Senator. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, President